Okay, hello everyone. I'd like to welcome everyone to the first in our series of 2 webinars that we put together for our subscribers. We're pleased that you could join us today. I'm Tyler Nunley, a specialist in behavioral finance and risk tolerance, and a marketing consultant for FinaMetrica in the U.S. We also have Jeff Davey, one of the FinaMetrica co-founders, with us today. Jeff will say a few words in just a moment. First, I'd like to say a few words about today's presentation. The objective of the first webinar is to provide you with some key efficiency ideas that will allow you to work more profitably and better serve your clients. There will be a focused discussion around creating workflows, providing investment advice. Many of you already know the importance of having systems in place for the advice you provide to clients, but many advisors don't. Our presenter today, Deborah Fox, has deep expertise in this area, and as a practicing financial advisor, she herself struggled for years to get systems in place for her own practice. The second webinar in this series will be held a week from today on July 25th at the same time, has the objective of helping you acquire new clients, providing you with 5 unique marketing ideas using FinaMetrica. If you haven't already, please be sure to register by clicking on the registration link that was included in our emails. And now, let's hear from Jeff.
Thanks, Tyler. Good morning, everyone. It's 6 a.m. here in Sydney. It's still dark, but I think it's going to be a lovely day. Prior to FinaMetrica, I was one of the founders of financial planning in Australia. One of the pioneers, I should say. The firm I founded in 1972 was the first to offer holistic financial planning. When I sold out to my 5 partners in 1989, we had offices in Sydney, Brisbane and Melbourne and 100 staff. Building that business was quite a challenge. Our objective was to efficiently and effectively provide a highly customised, very personalised professional financial service of consistently high quality. Our success was due in no small part to the systems and processes we developed. But we had to develop these from scratch by trial and error. It was hard work and we made numerous mistakes. It was a distraction, a necessary one, but a distraction from the main game of growing our business through providing excellent service to clients. If we had access to somebody like Deborah Fox, life would have been much easier and we would have been much more successful. To me, getting expert assistance on systems and processes from a third party is a no-brainer. I commend Deb's services to you. We're very grateful she's agreed to share her expertise with our subscribers in this webinar, and I hope you get great value out of it. Thanks, Deborah and Tyler. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Jeff. Very kind words. Now, let me introduce you to our presenter, Deborah Fox, who is founder and CEO of Fox Financial Planning Network. Deborah has been a long-time practicing financial advisor, is always looking for better ways to do things. She is nationally known for unique planning processes and workflow templates and for showing financial advisors step-by-step how to work more efficiently and increase the value of their services. She's communicated to us today she wants to provide you with some efficiency shortcuts so you can immediately improve the way you do business. Deborah will be presenting approximately 30 minutes of content today, and then we'll take questions at the end. Deborah, I'd like to thank you for being our presenter today. I'll now hand the webinar over to you.
Thank you very much, Tyler. And Jeff, thank you for your kind words. And let me just get my camera on here for you so you'll be able to see me. Okay. We're on. I am really pleased to have an opportunity to present to you today. I think this is an incredibly important topic. I am most excited because it's the first time that I've actually presented this topic in a webinar format. So I think you'll get a lot of value out of this today, and you'll notice that we scheduled a 30-minute webinar. And the reason is I'm also a practicing financial advisor. I know that you have to carefully spend your day doing productive things, and so I feel like I just wanted to take half an hour of your time and just jam pack it with some great tips for you that can help you work a lot more efficiently, give you hopefully some new perspective on how to handle and manage the investment planning area of your practice, again, from an efficiency and systematizing standpoint, and to leave you with some real action items that you can implement immediately for immediate results. So let's get right to it. This is my agenda for today. We're going to talk about why workflows are critical to utilize, especially in the investment planning area, the best practices to systematize your practice, and specific tasks that you should systematize in the investment planning area, and then using technology solutions to minimize and automate workflow steps. So here is what I find kind of the typical firm's experience to be. They, on a daily basis, receive phone calls that are absolutely unnecessary. In other words, things that tasks and issues and complaints and things to do that could have been avoided if systems had been in place. There is a lot of people in the firm that are doing things that they're not exactly sure who's doing what. There are no defined responsibilities. And there aren't priorities with tasks given. If you think about your working day, and if you come to work each day with a list of things to do and your most important things to do, if you are honest with yourself and you look at how many of those do you actually complete every day. I've always been told you should have 6 priority items every day. So I and my staff every day make a list before we leave the previous day of our 6 most important priority items to complete the next day. And after surveying literally hundreds and hundreds of advisors over the years, there seems to be a common issue with trying to get priority items completed for the day. It's a continual frustration. So what that results in are providing reactive client services, where instead of being proactive, you're just reacting to whatever's coming your way. So I want to give you some great ideas on, at least on the investment planning side of things, what you can do to change that outcome. The foundation of any successful business is to have systems and operations in place. I mean, for some reason, we're the only industry that doesn't have that as a core component. When we start our businesses, we're not counseled or mentored or given information on how to effectively do that and set up our practices efficiently in the first place. So what does that mean, having systems and operations? Well, we want to standardize our service offerings so that we have consistency in delivering our services. We want to make sure we're defining specific roles for each person working in the firm. If you're a solo advisor, then you need to define your own roles and determine what you should and should not be doing and what you should try to get other people doing on your behalf, even if it's outsourcing. Incorporating technology and practice management components into the firm so that you can actually scale and grow, because you'll reach that threshold if you don't have certain things in place that will prevent you from growing. You've run out of capacity. So technology and practice management components and decisions that you make can allow you to scale and grow, and that you have systems in place for tracking, business tracking, and the ability to pull firm metrics so that you can see how you're doing at any given time over the short term and the long term. And so to provide proactive client services consistently, and where you're actually working in a relaxed manner, you're wanting to have workflows and procedures that are detailed and put in place and used on a daily basis. And that generates a organized, efficient, and documented delivery of services. And I am just obsessed with these workflows and procedures because it was such a game changer for us. It took us almost 3 years to get our workflows and procedures in place because we had no clue what we were doing. We didn't have a model to go off of. We couldn't find anyone that had really systematized their practice. And so we just it was trial and error for us. But once we got them in place and we continue to evolve them on an ongoing basis, we work with them every day. It is just amazing the difference. It's night and day of how we operate as a financial advisory firm. So the workflow is the higher level view of the task. The procedures complement the workflow. They're the detail of exactly how to do the steps involved in completing the task, the detailed steps. And so you want to have both. You want to have the workflows that you actually typically are using within a CRM technology, and then you want to have detailed procedures that show someone how to actually perform the task in detail. So here are some workflows that are examples of what type of workflows you should have. And not only that, but how you can automate many of the steps or remove many of the manual steps. So for instance, for your clients, data gathering when you bring on a new client is very time intensive in most cases. And you can cut, this is probably one of the most time saving tasks that you can do, is to use technology versus manually gathering data for new clients. As an example, for us, we find it takes, usually we're lucky if within 2 weeks we get all of the financial data for our clients. And we're doing more holistic planning. So we're collecting kind of all the information in every area of planning for our clients. And when you automate some of that process, so there's software, for instance, a Precise FP, if you've ever heard of them, where the client can go in online and enter data and organize it. I mean, you can get it now within a couple days rather than a couple weeks. So it's amazing how much time that time and effort that cuts off. Then that technology can integrate with your CRM, so all their data automatically is populated in the CRM in a client record. Then that data integrates with financial planning software if you're doing it. So all of a sudden, you don't have data entry in financial planning software. I mean, a lot of the CRMs now, they'll pre-populate a planning software such as Money Guide Pro to 80% of the fields. It's incredible. And then you can just analyze your client's current financial position very quickly, and then you can actually feed that into a portfolio management system where you do the research and you generate reports and generate your recommendations. You can then also rebalance through a rebalancing system, because the portfolio management system can integrate with the rebalancing system or can be part of it. There are different technology solutions out there. And so now all of a sudden you can enter model portfolios that you're using, which standardizes the delivery of your investment advice, your portfolio allocation, and you can then rebalance to those portfolios. Now, rebalancing used to be, depending on the size firm, it's something that has in the past taken weeks and sometimes over a month to complete for all clients when it's done manually. With rebalancing software, with the right technology, you can literally do it in a couple hours. It's crazy. That's the other piece of technology that's a huge return on investment. Now, I think all these are, but what I'm trying to show you is how you literally can create these pathways through integrations where you don't even have to touch data. It is manual steps are eliminated, and you've got straight through processing of data and of paperwork and reports. So once the the portfolios are rebalanced, then there can be a bulk trade report generated and sent to the custodian or broker-dealer for implementation. Confirms are then automatically sent, and then those confirms can be reconciled and then routed electronically to a document management system. This was not available just a few years ago. It is incredible what can occur now with documenting processes, so having very well thought steps out according to your business model, and then using technology to work efficiently within that model. So then the procedures come next, because what I just showed you were the workflows. Remember, that's the higher level view of the task. And it's really easy to start with workflows and come up with the order of how you want to do things and what actual tasks you are performing for your clients, especially on the investment side of things. Once that has been determined, then you create the detail behind those tasks, and they should be written for each critical task in a way so that somebody that has never performed that task before could do so with little or no assistance. And that is the measure of how helpful or how accurate a procedure is. And you can test it by have someone sitting down that has never performed that task and see if they can. And that's how you can tweak it to be effective. It cuts down on training time that you have to spend with a new staff member or somebody that's moving into a new role. So it has other overarching benefits to just getting tasks standardized. And a bonus is your compliance can be built in, and that is so especially important in the investment planning area, because what you're going to do is build compliance steps into each of your procedures where it's appropriate. So it automates your compliance process. You can automate many steps within technology solutions, and you now have an actual documented process that you can show to regulators if you're questioned about how you handle a certain step of compliance or certain area of compliance, that you can show through your documented procedures that you not only have a process but that it's consistently performed for each of your clients. This is, again, a big game changer. Was for us. So let's talk a little bit about FinaMetrica, because it's a good example of how you can automate certain processes and use technology to do so. So one of the things that FinaMetrica offers is if you're asked by regulators, well, how do you assess your client's risk profile and how do you build a portfolio according to the risk profile or the risk profile results? And so you can show that you're using a system, a program that is based on scientific research, that is using psychometric testing, and that it provides a detailed explanation of the testing results. So when you have results based on client input, it provides you now with a scientific process that you can use for appropriate portfolio construction. And it's based on both their risk score and their risk capacity, which I'll show you in just a minute quickly how that works with FinaMetrica. You can also compare in FinaMetrica how the client's current portfolio is with their target, would be compared to their target portfolio, their ideal asset allocation. So FinaMetrica automates the process by sending the client an email link to their risk profile, or you can put it on your website, on the advisor website. You can have it where your client can go to your website and register to get their questionnaire. You're notified by email when the questionnaire has been completed by the client. It's automatic, so you don't have to keep checking with your client to see if they've completed it. And then electronic report can be utilized in the client meeting. You never even have to print out a PDF, save some trees, can look at it on an iPad or on a computer monitor and discuss the pages that are important to go through with your client. And here, there are some people on this webinar that are not current subscribers to FinaMetrica. So if you haven't ever seen this tool, here's just a quick look at what what an advisor would see to set up a new client to receive the risk questionnaire. So I just set one up for myself just so you could see what it looks like. So it's just a matter of putting the client's name and email address, boom, done. And then this is what the client receives when they click on the link in their email. They see their risk profile exercise where they have two of them. Actually, you can see the risk questionnaire as well as the demographic questionnaire. So very simple to use, gives them explanations all along the way so that they understand why they're doing what they are doing at any given time. And then for us as advisors, we get automated risk analysis with FinaMetrica tools. We can immediately scientifically assess our client's risk profile. We can determine the appropriate asset allocation based on a couple components, and we can easily communicate our recommendations with our clients with very compelling visual aids. So what does that look like? As an example, here's one of the visuals that's generated for us, where we can look at the risk profile of our clients according to the risk tolerance score. So here's a client that came up with a score of 50 on the risk profile, and you can see that there is discomfort to the left of the graph, at the top left, for too much risk, and discomfort at the bottom right of the graph for too little risk. So it's not just about volatility, it's about also comfort level, whether they're taking too much or too little risk. And there are ranges there. It's not an absolute. There are some ranges that would match up to their risk tolerance score, but there's another component that needs to be taken into account. So there's some leeway there. And the other way to look at our client's risk profile is based on the percent of growth assets in the portfolio. Some clients may have a risk tolerance score that indicates that they should have a lower growth assets portion of their portfolios, but they feel that they're missing out on too much return, that they would be uncomfortable because they would be missing out at potential upside if they pare down their growth assets to the level that just their risk score showed them, and vice versa. So how does that look? Well, this shows you, according to growth assets and risk tolerance, the ranges that can actually occur. So it's very scientific. We're not trying to guess this for our clients. We get to see some reasonable ranges here based on the okay risk versus some marginal that we can have discussions with our clients about, and they and we can then come to an agreement as to how the portfolio can be allocated. And when we put it all together, then here's again what FinaMetrica does for us, is we get to see where their current portfolio is versus where their target portfolio should be as far as percent of growth assets. And in this case, you can see the risk tolerance score was 56, and yet the growth assets of the current portfolio were only 50%, and they really wanted 70 after discussions. So this is a methodology that allows you to save a ton of time in analysis and not just stabbing in the dark to try to figure out how to come up with some sort of moderate portfolio. You can, or aggressive portfolio, or very conservative portfolio for your client. You can really hone in on what is going to be right for them. So let's look at how do we systematize the investment process in more detail. Well, there's three areas we want to systematize. Back office, which is the administrative work that would happen, usually by administrative staff. The client-facing work, as well as what happens when we're sending trades to a custodian or broker-dealer, or in some cases a third-party money manager if you are outsourcing a portion or all of your investment management process. So here are some very specific processes that need to be systematized, in my opinion. First of all, we need to be very aware of cash needs for a client. So you need to have a process to identify cash needs and to monitor cash needs. Low cash balance, when there are accounts that get into a low cash balance situation, we want there to be alerts and what to do when that specific procedures of when we get those types of alerts. Obviously, for required minimum distributions, there needs to be a process to make sure those occur in a timely manner. Voluntary reorganizations or bond calls, accounts out of balance, another thing to be aware of. Trade reconciliation is going to be very important. So each of these should have a separate procedure, not necessarily, I mean, you want to try to have the procedure complete, but with as few steps as possible so that it's as easy to complete as possible and as many non-manual steps as possible. Other steps to systematize on research and reporting, we want single position reports, we want for rebalancing, we need a very specific procedure for rebalancing. We want to have some quarterly screens so that we can monitor whether it's a third-party money manager or whether we're managing our own portfolios. Model portfolios, if you're going to use those, which I highly recommend that you do, because it allows you to systematize so much more of the investment process. And again, from a compliance standpoint, you'll be able to show consistency. So that is a best practices for systematizing and compliance. And then alerts for if you're managing your own portfolios, but actually even for outsourcing, you've chosen a manager for a particular investment process or style of investment. You need to have a process to monitor their style and see if there are manager changes or changes in their overall philosophy or their fee structure, whatever the case may be. You want to know if you need to start shopping around for a replacement. And then also we set alerts for buy prices. If we have individual securities and we think something is too expensive to buy right now, we set alerts for when they go into our buy range or maximum buy price. They go below that or hit that, and also stop loss. If you're using any individual securities, especially equities or ETFs, especially sector type of ETFs, you want to have stop losses set so that your clients are never experiencing more than a certain % loss that you determine, and that's how you never lose too much money. So there are also some reminders that I highly recommend that you systematize when you onboard a new client. So for instance, when we bring on a new client, we have a checklist of about 50 reminders, and we bring out that checklist with each new client, and we just eliminate all the ones that don't apply to that client. And it could be, for instance, RMDs, if they need an RMD, if they have a CD maturing, if they have a term insurance policy that's maturing also. So there's a lot of different kinds of reminders that you can set, and it is just the ultimate way to be proactive with your client. They just get blown away when you set these reminders and you're contacting them before these events are happening. You're just so on the ball. And when you've automated that process, like in a CRM, it's effortless to do, because it's been all automated, and it allows you to provide a much higher level of service to your clients when they are, without working harder really, and where you can really blow them away. So on the investment side, there's lots of different things that you can help them with on systematizing through reminders when you bring them on board. Other areas to systematize, tracking account transfers, and a lot of times that you do just with at the custodian or broker-dealer level, but we find that some of the technology that is available through these institutions is not really ideal. It's not user-friendly, so you can set up your own systems to do that. It could be as simple as a color-coded spreadsheet, which seems a little bit too manual, but you can have just one document that is in a central electronic storage area that everybody can view. And we have found that it's just easier to go to that document and see it in some cases than to log in and get to try to run a report through some of the custodians or broker-dealers. Also, how to create and reconcile block trades, trade tickets and confirms, confirmation of research reports read. If you're doing your own research, you want to have a way to document that you're staying up to date with various things that you need to be based on your investment style. And then performance reporting. You should systematize how you run those, and I just personally recommend that you do that once per year rather than the traditional quarterly. And my feeling is that we as advisors tell our clients to work to focus on longer term performance, not to worry about what happens on the daily, monthly, even quarterly, or even for half a year, and yet we're bringing their attention every quarter with a performance report, which really becomes outdated the day after the quarter when the value of their account changes the next day. So we do once a year performance reporting, and we give our clients access, 24/7 access to their account so that they can go online and check the balance and how it's doing at any time of the year. Now, if you're outsourcing investment management, you would want to have a manager due diligence checklist so that you can go through a thorough process of checking out that manager or group of managers or firm that they're going to provide the solution effectively for you and in compliance according to your standards. And also a quarterly process for verifying the manager's consistency of investment process, quarterly and annual process for benchmarking their performance, and a checklist of methods of communication. The other thing that I think has been so helpful for us is by standardizing the visual aids and educational pieces that you use with clients in the investment planning area. So for instance, your model portfolios, you can just create one page that shows an example of how you build your model portfolios. Just a snapshot, a visual aid with maybe a pie chart that shows the different components of your portfolios. I gave you just an example, a picture here that I just am started to use the last couple weeks. It's just arrows, but having that conversation of why being in a bond fund right now or going forward might not be such a good idea with rising interest rates. And so it's just an arrow, well, when interest rates rise, prices of bonds go down. And so it's just one simple picture, but it communicates 1,000 words, as they say. And so you can use, I'm a big advocate of using photos or diagrams or pictures to get across more complex ideas that would take a long time to explain. It cuts down on the time that you have to explain something to a staff member, or in this case to a client. So you can cut at least 25 to 30% in a lot more in many cases of the time it takes to do that task. And you can create templates for recommending investment recommendations also. Also focus on just presenting key pages of a report on an iPad or a computer monitor, as I mentioned earlier. You don't want to be presenting 60-page reports to your clients. Choose the pages that are the most relevant and put that in a process so that you know exactly which pages your clients care about and what's the most important information for you to provide to them. And then we use a letter of understanding after each meeting, very important compliance piece where we summarize what we discussed, what decisions were made, and we sign it and the client signs it. So there's hard evidence that certain things were discussed and that there were decisions that were agreed upon by both parties. One of the most important documents we ever created from a compliance standpoint. And so if you haven't really started putting processes in place, or you have some, but certainly not where you can really integrate all the different areas of the tasks and the different roles in your firm, the different staff members in your firm. If you'd like a fast track, I would encourage you to consider looking at our network and becoming a member of our network. We provide you with a complete workflow system that has all pre-written templates that are either in Word or Excel or PowerPoint that you can literally just take and tweak to how you want to do business. Instead of starting from line one, we'd give you literally over 100 templates that you can just customize, and instead of taking 3 years to get your workflow system in place, you can do it within months, literally, or certainly within a year if you're doing your whole practice. If you're just doing the investment planning area, you can get it done very, very quickly, but we actually have templates for all areas of financial planning and pretty much running an off of financial advisory firm. And we not only give you these templates, we give you web-based training to guide you on how to implement and utilize. So I'll just give you that quick explanation of who we are. I encourage you to go to our website if you'd like to learn more. We also have some free downloads on the homepage. You don't even have to put your email address in. There's a great guide that I wrote on how to write workflows and put a workflow system in place, and some other information on standardizing a practice and integrating all those areas of your practice that are important. So we'll go now to Q&A, and if I see that, I think we have a few questions already in chat. If you do have questions, put them in the Q&A box that's on your dashboard there. Okay, so there is a question here. Is the comfort zone analysis located on FinaMetrica website. Yes, you would just log in and then you are able to get access to those tools. And there are really great materials that go along with the analysis so that you can see exactly how these numbers end up showing up in the analysis. Again, it's very scientific, and now the process actually for this analysis originally was, in an updated version, it incorporated over almost 21,000 clients to come up with these kind of scientific results. And now when clients do risk profiling, their results are compared to over 400,000 people. So it's really a one-of-a-kind tool. We have just so enjoyed using it in creating the right types of conversations with clients. Let's see. Another question, do you have a system that incorporates or encompasses all of what you're describing? Okay, I think I answered that one. Are your slides available from today's presentation? Yes, we are recording this, and the recording will get posted. We'll post the slides also, so that I know you probably couldn't write down a list of all of the different processes to standardize, so we will provide that for you also. And oh, this is a good question. How did your clients react when you went to yearly performance reporting? They actually reacted very well because we explained why, and they couldn't argue with that. They couldn't argue that a quarterly performance report isn't very significant, and it freed us up time to have more worthwhile discussions with them. So it's really positioning. It's how you have that conversation with your clients. I've been trying for about 3 or 4 years now, I guess, yeah, 4 years, to get this conversation out in our industry, to stop making quarterly performance reports the norm. I think we need to make the norm having more interactions using technology and other methods than focusing on running quarterly performance reports. And again, for us, it doesn't mean that our clients don't have access to their information. We're using a client portal, we're using aggregation so that they can go and see in one view all of their finances at one time, including all the investment accounts that we're managing or that they might have outside. Okay, let's see, I think there's another one here. Is there an abbreviated version of the risk profile piece? I recall last year trying to fill the information out, and it seemed rather confusing and convoluted. Well, the risk profile, I think you're talking about the questionnaire, and it only has 25 questions. Well, I guess maybe only is not, maybe that's not the appropriate word, but it does take 15 or 20 minutes typically for the average client to complete it, which I don't think is unreasonable, and I think it becomes such an important tool to use in the investment discussion with our clients that we should prepare them to understand the importance of them completing it in a way that is going to be helpful to the planning relationship that we have. So I don't know of a abbreviated version, and maybe there is, and Tyler can chime in on that. But
yeah, we do have an abbreviated version, more on the institutional side. That's 12 questions, so that's something we've been working on.
Okay. And is that?
I would also like to mention, it's really how you frame the issue to clients as well. There isn't any resistance, which we rarely find there is, to someone spending 15 minutes. Just simply frame it as, would you spend 15 minutes on something that could impact the rest of your life and that of your family? So that is a good way to kind of frame it, to make people look at it, the big picture, instead of spending 15 minutes on the questions. We find that, with 25 questions, it's a great balance of the science and the practical use of the assessment. We've had very few complaints, if any, of people saying that it's complex. What we're trying to do is use simple language, but once again, using a very scientific approach.
Thank you, Tyler, for clarifying that. I would second that. I don't think we've ever had a client complain that it was too long. But again, I think we are doing a good job of framing it ahead of time and the importance of it. Okay, another question we have here is, how do you get your letter of understanding done so quickly for clients to sign at the meeting? Is it handwritten? That's a really good question, and I should have mentioned that. We don't have them do it at the meeting. We obviously do need to prepare it. So we do have templates that are put together for each of our client meetings, and then we just add the custom components for each of the clients, and we send that to them by email with an action plan that we have for them, or in a shared folder. We will put it in a shared folder, electronic folder that we have with them. And then when they come in for their next meeting, it depends on how often we are meeting that client or when the next meeting is going to be, but we'll either have them sign it the next time they come in, or if they're not going to be in for a while, then we will actually have them sign it and send it back to us so that we have it, or fax it or scan it and email it, or however. So it is not done in the client meeting. Another question here is, all of the clients' financial picture as compared to the target or need, insurance, family spending, CapEx, retirement savings, contribution. Robert, I'm not sure what you are asking. Are you asking what workflow areas are in our program? Is that what you're asking? Or if you can clarify. And if anyone else has any questions, go ahead and type them in.
And while we wait, I'd just like to remind everyone that July 25th at the same time that we'll be presenting part 2 of the webinar series, and we certainly hope that you'll join us at that time.
Good. Okay, I missed his question, his original question here, which is, let me grab it here. Do you know of any software that is dedicated to providing a detailed real-time picture to clients on the performance of all of their financial elements? And that's where the other part, all of the client's financial picture as compared to target or need, insurance, family. Well, as an example, the e-money client portal that has aggregation, in many cases you can create connections that will have from the close of day from the previous day, that will have the values and the information. I don't know of anything that is updating real time, like on a minute by minute basis, for a complete financial picture. So it's really just a day by day basis, but as of close of the business day. Okay, so I hope I answered that. Here's another question. Can you give us an idea about the cost of joining Fox Financial Planning Network? The cost will depend on the size of firm that you are and whether you join without consulting or with individual consulting. And so the best thing we can do is you can go on our website, look at the information, you can submit an inquiry form, and we can have a brief conversation with you to learn about your firm, and we can give you a quote on the spot. But it's really affordable. I will say that one of my absolute insistences was that we were priced well under any other program that's out there for any type of consulting. We're a one-of-a-kind program, but we did not want to be charging an arm and a leg that advisors don't get a quick return on investment. So it is very possible to get a complete return of investment within the first 30 to 60 days of our program. We see that over and over again. And so I put you on a pathway to do that. And I'm not telling you it's not work. Of course, there is some work, but it's split up over a 6-month period of time so that you can work on little pieces each month while you're still running your firm. And then within 6 months or so, you can have a fully systematized firm and a lot of other things in place too. Great technology integrations. And so we give you all sorts of ideas, planning, positioning ideas, just a ton of stuff that I think would be helpful, that will get you thinking of what you're really capable of and what you really want to create for yourself in the long term, both from an experiential level as well as a valuation level. Anybody else? I think that's all the questions. All right. Well, it's been a pleasure. Robert, I'll answer you, since we're over time, just hang on and I'll answer you by chat here. You just got another question here, but it's about our program, so I won't go into that. So I just want to thank you for taking the time to be with us. I hope you got some value out of this. I can't imagine that you didn't. FinaMetrica, thank you for sponsoring this webinar, and we will look forward to hopefully seeing you at next week's webinar, where we're going to focus on marketing with FinaMetrica. Take care.
Thank you, Deborah. That was an excellent presentation. Greatly appreciate it, and we hope to see everyone July 25th, same time once again, where the topic will be client acquisition and how advisors are having great success using FinaMetrica to gain new clients. So thank you, everyone, and we hope to see you then.
Bye-bye.
Bye.